job's a joke you broke, your love life's the way. It's like you're always stuck in second gear, when it hasn't been your day, your week, your month, or even your year.
Hello Blue Jays, and welcome back to The Pulse. Every episode we highlight news, sports, and student voices at Bondurant Farm Middle School.
On this episode, we have segments on Mr. Brown, language arts children's books, jaywalking, and we look back at an interesting year.
But first, last week our school recognized excellence in the classroom. Jaden Carrasco has more.
On Thursday, May 20th, the middle school held their academic luncheon. 6th through 8th grade students were invited to the gym for an academic celebration. All students who were invited had good grades throughout the school year. Students were awarded with a catered meal that consisted of pasta, breadsticks, carrots, cookies, and were also given certificates. Mr. Seidel was invited as a guest speaker for the event and talked about 10 things he wished he knew in middle school. I asked Ms. Hurley about the importance of this event.
We feel that it's important to celebrate students' academic success by celebrating them either by having the breakfast like last year or the academic luncheon this year to highlight their accomplishments. The students that participated in the academic luncheon this year earned all A's or A minuses for the first semester, and that includes with everything that they turned in here at school and through learning at home when we were in a hybrid format. So the kids that were invited to the luncheon today worked really, really hard throughout the school year.
This has been Jaden Carrasco reporting for The Pulse.
Recently, 7th graders in language arts have been writing and illustrating children's books. Eli Hansen dives into that story.
Recently, the 7th graders were able to make children's books, and they went and read them to the elementary kids. An annual tradition in which students in Mrs. Go's, Mrs. Drummond, and Miss Lozano's classes are creating books from scratch. They develop original stories in their own illustration, either digitally on Story Jumper or on paper.
The students started the Story Jumper project about 6 years ago when we wanted a chance for them to work on tightening up their plot elements and understand the important parts of a story. Also, we found out that the kids at the elementary school just loved having the big kids come down and talk to them about it.
Once completed, the classes went to Morris Elementary and they read their stories in small groups. This has been Eli Hansen reporting for The Pulse.
This week our school says goodbye to Mr. Brown. Claire Meislin chats with him before he retires.
Okay, so today we're here talking to Mr. Brown, who is retiring at the end of the school year after a long, long career in education. He's going to show off an awesome experiment today called what?
I don't think we have a name for it. Bill Nye calls it the tornado of fire. Science tornado of fire, yeah.
Well, let's talk about what it used to be like around here. How long have you been here?
40 years.
40 years.
40 years, 40. Here's what we figured out. How old's Mr. Kramer?
I think maybe 50.
50?
50.
He was 10 when I started teaching.
Yeah.
That's really old time.
Yeah, I would say so.
There we go. Well, maybe if we can get this to spin. Supposed to.
It's all right, we can edit.
Who did this? There we go. We can get it spinning. I'm caught on something.
What's changed since then, within like the last 40 years?
This is just like everything else in 40 years. You experiment, and then it doesn't work. We can light somebody's hand on fire.
Claire?
Yeah, let's do that.
Any volunteers?
All right.
Should we start from the beginning then?
That always
Probably.
works.
Okay.
In order to do this, you have to get your hand wet
Right.
and scoop up a bunch of bubbles.
Right.
And then you just hold your hand out there, but don't do this,
Right.
because it'll be on fire. Looks like we're setting something on fire over there. Just make sure there's nothing underneath your hand.
Right.
So, there. Cool, huh?
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay. Simple enough. Just light your hand on fire.
Right.
You know what? I don't think this is going to go out.
So what has changed in those 40 years?
How much has changed?
Yeah,
Or what's the biggest change?
either one.
Okay. Well, you know, the biggest thing is the population. When I started here, we had, Anderson was a really little school. And this wasn't even here. And we had a building up at Farrar that was probably 100 years old. And then that closed, and they built this, and they made Anderson bigger. And then they built the high school, and then they built the, whatever it is down there. And now they're building a junior high school, and it just went from like 30 or 40 kids per grade level to almost 200.
Yeah.
And that has been a big change, real big change. You used to be able to teach people 3 or 4 times from grade 7 through 12, and now I only see them once, and then they're gone. So I don't get to know people in here as well.
So what's next?
What's next for me? You know, I thought for a while that I was going to travel, and then the pandemic came. So I decided that I would become a hermit instead, right? Yeah, so I've got so many hobbies, cutting and polishing rocks, craft stuff, make stuff out of wood. I just bought a house that was 101 years old, and it needs a few things fixed. So I'll be working on that. What we should do is light a bunch of people's hands on fire so it's all in a row. Come get some bubbles, fire, please. Scoop them up. More hands, more hands. Oh, chicken. Oh, there we go. Yeah, bubbles, methane gas in them. And we just light them up. Are you ready? I'm gonna go this way. 1, 2, 3.
So what are you gonna miss most?
What?
What are you gonna miss most?
This probably, lighting people's hands on fire for no reason. I mean, just because. That's probably gonna be the one thing I miss the most. Where just try something out. Let's go do that. I won't have anybody to do it with now.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you for coming in.
Yeah.
Good night.
Up next, Lydia Sanderson looks back at the craziest year of our life.
We're about to finish one of the weirdest years in school history. What made it so weird? Before we even started the school year, there was a derecho that pushed back the start of the year. When we did eventually start the year, we all had to adapt to the new format of learning. Instead of the normal schedule, we did hybrid, where half of the students would be in the building at one time, and the other half would be at home learning and definitely not watching TikTok all day. The school also had to follow many safety protocols like wearing masks, wiping down desks, and spreading kids out at lunch. We stayed in hybrid till November, then we went back full-time for a couple of weeks. Things started to get crazy, and then we headed back to hybrid. In December, many sports were canceled, like basketball and wrestling. We stayed in hybrid till January, but eventually started going full-time again. When it started, it seemed like there were massive amounts of students everywhere. We made it to spring break, and many events were canceled along the way. However, after spring break, things started to mellow out and slowly get back to normal. Tracks gotta have a season, band and choir concerts returned, and after-school clubs fired back up. Now we're almost to the end of the year, and we're hopefully seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and are optimistic about a normal start to next year's school year. This has been Lydia Sanderson reporting for The Pulse.
Boy, I'm really going to miss not being able to tell the kids to pull their mask up next year.
When I walked up the wrong set of stairs.
The smell of spick and span in the morning.
I'm really, really gonna miss kids not turning off their cell phones in their lockers so that I can listen to their ringtone all day long.
Probably lunchtime with Peyton Butler.
I'm going to miss spraying down the tables and desks 10 times a day.
The teacher's telling you to put your mask back up.
What will I miss most? Plexiglass!
Not seeing any of my friends during hybrid school days.
Probably the best memory that I have is getting restricted. The best part of this school year was having only 2 people at the tables at lunch.
I'm going to miss finding lunch coverage for 6 different classrooms every single day.
Definitely the best part of school this year was having to wear a mask.
I'm going to miss kids asking to charge their Chromebooks every day.
Thanks for watching the polls. You can watch this show and past ones anytime at bluejaydigital.org.
Have a great summer. See you next year.
Tag students are building inventions for Shark's Tank.
However, middle schools. Sorry.
Don't even read it.
I feel bad.
Reporting for the polls. Do another one. Okay.
2 athletes who are enjoying. Oh my gosh.
All right.
On Thursday. Ah, crap.
We sent Claire Light.
Hello, Blue Jay. It's going too fast. It's going too fast. It's going too fast.
That's always our speed.
Up next, Lydia Sanders. Crap.
I just spit all over the place. My son just flew in my nose. Sorry.
Bree Milliken has then. Recently, the 7th graders made Recently, the 7th graders were able to make children books.
The polls! Yeah!